Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. Your apartment is completely dark, and then you hear it, a low, deep groan, like something enormous is in pain. The sound moves through the walls, through the floor, through your bed. You sit up, heart racing, trying to figure out what that sound is, and then you feel it. The room is moving, not shaking, not violently, but slowly, gently. Unmistakably swaying, like you're standing on the deck of a ship in the middle of the ocean. Except you're not on a ship, you're on the 81st floor, 426 meters above the streets of New York City, and you paid $47 million for this apartment. You walk to the window, press your hand against the cold glass and look down. Tiny yellow taxis, tiny people, tiny lights, and the building groans again. Louder this time. You step back from the window and you think, what have I done? This is not a horror movie. This is the real, documented, legally contested experience of the people who bought apartments in 432 Park Avenue, the thinnest skyscraper in New York City, the building that was supposed to be the most luxurious address on the planet, where a single apartment sold for $169 million. And where some of the wealthiest people in the world were quietly, privately, expensively miserable. Today, we're going inside the full story. The engineering, the obsession, the promises, the lawsuits, and the part the developer really does not want you to know. So stay with me, because this story gets darker the higher we go. To understand why 432 Park even exists, you need to understand what was happening in New York real estate around 2010 to 2015. Ultra-high net worth buyers, billionaires, hedge fund managers, Saudi royals, Russian oligarchs, Chinese real estate magnates started treating Manhattan apartments not as homes, but as trophies, the same way you collect a rare painting or a private jet. These buyers didn't want a nice apartment. They wanted something nobody else had. Something that announced from the outside exactly how much money was sitting inside. Developers quickly understood the taller the building, the more exclusive the address. The thinner the tower, the more rarefied the experience felt. This gave birth to what New York called Billionaires Row. That stretch of 57th Street where impossibly thin, impossibly tall, impossibly expensive towers started rising into the sky. And 432 Park Avenue, developed by Harry McClough and CIM Group, was designed to be the crown jewel of the entire movement. The architect was Rafael Viñoly, a Uruguayan-American designer known for buildings that make a statement whether you like it or not. His vision, a pure square tube, rising from the ground with no setbacks, no curves, no ornamentation of any kind. Just a perfect square, repeated 96 times, stacked into the sky. The inspiration came from a simple wastebasket designed by Austrian architect Joseph Hoffmann in 1905. The beauty of pure geometry. And when you look at 432 Park from across Central Park on a clear day, you understand what he meant. It is striking, unforgettable, almost alien in its perfection. But here is the thing about buildings that look perfect from a distance. You do not live in them from a distance. 432 Park stands 426 meters tall. Its width at the base is 28 meters. That gives it a height-to-width ratio of roughly 15:1. To understand how extreme that is, the Empire State Building has a ratio of around 6:1. 432 Park is more than twice as slender. And in structural engineering, slenderness is not just a design choice. It is a problem that has to be solved. That problem is called wind. When wind hits a thin building, it creates spinning vortices on each side as it passes, these alternate left and right, pushing the building sideways. If the rhythm of those vortices matches the building's natural frequency, the structure starts to oscillate, growing with each cycle. This same phenomenon destroyed the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in 1940, a bridge that resonated with the wind until it tore itself apart and collapsed. In a residential super tall, Even non-dangerous oscillations make life unbearable. Motion sickness, water tilting in glasses, artwork swinging on walls. The unmistakable feeling that the ground beneath you is not entirely solid. So how did the engineers solve it? Two ways. First, ultra-high-strength concrete throughout the structural core, giving the building mass and stiffness. Second, open mechanical floors at every 10th level, gaps with no glass, no walls. These break up the building's solid profile, let wind pass through, and disrupt the vortex shedding effect. From a structural standpoint, it works. The building is safe. The engineering is genuinely innovative. But those mechanical flaws come with consequences. Consequences the people paying $30 million, $50 million, $80 million discovered the very hard way. Now the money. Because the price tags deserve their own moment. Units started at around $17 million for lower floors. Mid-floor units ranged from $30 to $60 million. Upper floors pushed into the $80 and $90 million range. And the penthouse. The full-floor unit on the 96th floor, the highest residential floor in the Western Hemisphere at that time, was listed at $169 million. One apartment, one floor, $169 million. For that amount, you could buy a private island in the Maldives, fund a mid-sized hospital for a decade, or purchase one apartment in a building that groans in the wind. The buyers were not ordinary wealthy people. These were the ultra-wealthy, for whom $30 million is a portfolio allocation decision. And the promise made to all of them, in glossy marketing materials, private presentations, and conversations with top brokers, was extraordinary. Floor-to-ceiling windows on all four sides, 360-degree views, a private residence-only restaurant, a 75-foot pool, a private cinema, a library, a wine cellar, a 24-hour concierge, a staff-to-resident ratio that would make a 5-star hotel feel understaffed. This was not being sold as an apartment. This was being sold as the finest address in the history of human civilization. And then people moved in, and reality showed up. The complaints started almost immediately, around 2015 and 2016, as the first residents took occupancy. These were not small complaints. These were serious, documented, legally actionable issues. The sounds. Multiple residents independently, without coordinating, reported the same thing. Loud, disturbing noises coming from the building itself, groaning, creaking, banging. In high wind conditions, the building produced deep, resonant sounds that residents described as startling and terrifying. One resident reportedly described lying in bed during a storm, feeling like the building was about to come apart. Structurally, this is normal. Tall buildings are designed to flex, but understanding that intellectually is one thing. Experiencing it at 3 a.m. on the 75th floor of your $40 million apartment is another thing entirely. The elevators. The building's small footprint meant limited elevator shafts. In a 96-floor tower, residents reported wait times of 30 minutes or more just to get from their floor to the lobby. There were also reports of malfunctions, elevators stopping unexpectedly, people getting trapped between floors. In a building this tall, stuck in an elevator is not an inconvenience. It is a genuinely frightening experience, and it happened more than once to people who paid extraordinary sums specifically to avoid problems like this. The mechanical floors. Remember the open-air wind mitigation levels at every 10th floor? Those floors house the building's generators, water tanks, and industrial HVAC machinery, equipment that runs continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Residents on floors directly above and below reported constant mechanical noise, low-frequency humming, vibration transmitting through the concrete into their living spaces. In a building where silence was part of the $30 million proposition, hearing industrial machinery through your bedroom floor at 2 a.m. is not what you signed up for. The flooding. Multiple residents reported water intrusion into their apartments. In a brand new building, a brand new $1.3 billion building, water getting in through window seals, through gaps in the building envelope, through mechanical penetrations that were supposed to be completely sealed. One resident reported significant water damage requiring extensive remediation. Water in a $1.3 billion luxury supertall. The swaying, insignificant wind events, residents on upper floors reported feeling the building move perceptibly, not dangerously, but unmistakably. One resident reportedly watched a glass of water on their dining table slowly tilt during a storm. Another described genuine physical nausea while standing in their own living room. Another reported framed artwork visibly swinging on the walls. The building was doing exactly what it was engineered to do. But what it was engineered to do and what $50 million buyers expected to experience at home were two completely different things. And nobody, not the developer, not the architect, not the sales team, was honest with buyers up front about what those trade-offs actually meant for daily life. And then there is one final layer to this story: the vacancy. On any given night, a significant number of apartments in this building are completely dark, empty, no movement, no life. So what you have in this impossibly thin tower rising above Manhattan is not really a home for anyone. It is a monument to a particular idea of luxury, one built more for how it looks from the outside than for how it feels on the inside. And in that gap between appearance and reality, between the promise and the experience, lies the true story of 432 Park Avenue.